episode 23 of Descent Into the Wormhole, where we discuss everything from ancient civilization to modern day social issues and everything in between. I'm Les.
And I'm Stevie J, and today we're going to take a look at the origins of Christmas from various ancient traditions. Lots of different viewpoints to get into, so grab that coffee, grab the, or set the cruise control, I should say, and let's get into this one. It's an interesting one to be talking about, and of course, it is the time to be talking about Christmas.
Yes.
But
and this is actually being released on Christmas Day, so.
It is. How good is that? We got into the Christmas spirit. Now, just saying that, by the end of this episode, you may not feel that we're a part of the Christmas spirit, but what we wanted to do is just have a chat about the origins of Christmas, because you asked me, I think, and as you so often do, and I'm so grateful for, you asked me the question of how did we get to Christmas being what it is today, and what is it, and where did it come from? And so we decided to have a chat about it, and that's what's going to happen today. So to everybody out there, we are not, Ebenezer Scrooge. We're not floating around people's bedroom in our slippers. We are just wanting to explore this and talk about it. And I think for me, at least, the idea of, Christmas spirit and all of those things, like the idea of giving is a fantastic idea. It's a fantastic thought. My questions go to, why only one day of the year? Why aren't we being nice? Why aren't we being generous and giving all year round? Right. And of course, I go to the commercial side of it too. But what are your initial thoughts on this, or is there anything you want to say before we get into a few statistics?
Well, you nailed it when you said, why can't we do it every day? And I think we've gotten the whole spirit of giving wrong. I think it's turned into the spirit of getting.
Oh, I love that.
That's how I feel, because people are like, oh, I'm going to make my Christmas list. It's like, well, that's you getting, that's not you giving.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to figure that one out, that it's not the holiday that if you were new to this planet and you were to watch movies or watch commercials, it's not the experience that most people have. Right.
Yes. Good point. Just not. But I love that, and that little catchphrase. That could be a slogan of some sort. Like, it's not about giving; it's about getting at Christmas. Yeah. And I feel like it really has switched to that. But we'll get into the origins. The origins of different viewpoints as well. But I think as far as the giving part of it goes, from what I have found, there is some evidence of that with Saint Nicholas. But let's. I'm going to go through some statistics now on Christmas, because one of the things that we do often talk about on this podcast is the main motivation behind a lot of things being money. And so in terms of money, these are some statistics on what people spend at Christmas time and how money impacts things. So parents plan to spend an average of $276 per child when it comes to Christmas gifts in 2021. 10% of Europeans go into debt to do Christmas shopping. 1 in 10 people returns their gift to the store. Ooh, and I can't wait to talk about that one, about giving just for the sake of giving. And yes, and sometimes the giving is about us and not about the person who's actually receiving the gift as well. Yeah. 41% of Americans are willing to take on debt due to gift shopping. 41%. All right, this one's staggering. $15.2 billion is the estimated total of unwanted presents. That's not presents, unwanted presents. So imagine how big the piece of the pie is of wanted presents as well. $15 billion.
It's a good thing I'm sitting down,
right?
Because you didn't show me these. No. I haven't seen these stats before we sat down to record. I'm speechless actually. So where are these gifts? Like, are they ending up in the landfill? Where are they going? Are they being because if you look around, like there is a lot of pointless shit out there,
Oh
right? Like
yeah.
there's, look at the store shelves and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Yep.
Like no one needs that, but yet they're still producing it, so it's being bought.
Yep.
So, and you're absolutely right. It's people buying for the sake that they feel they have to. It's like this pressurized zone that everyone gets funneled into, and whether you are a celebrator of it or not, I
Yes.
feel that people feel the pressure of needing to give, and especially if it's like maybe your neighbor, like
Yeah.
what do you get your neighbor that you've spoken to once?
Yeah. Well, then, and that's just it. You're right. Like it, whether you're a celebrator or not, and that's such a great point, because you could be the most, like I'm all in. I love Christmas. I'm all in, and you can still feel pressure and still feel that anxiety building up towards Christmas because, and some in some ways even more so than someone who doesn't buy into Christmas, because you put that pressure on yourself as well. It's not just pressure from other people; it's pressure from yourself to go, well, I need to be doing a good job of Christmas this year. I need to be getting everybody what they want. I need to be, doing all of these things. So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic point. But $15.2 billion in unwanted gifts. So we are talking probably close to the $1 trillion mark of spending on gifts overall. $1 trillion.
Very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable right now.
Yeah. Well, where could that money be going?
Exactly.
Because where is it going? It's going straight into the pockets of companies. So
yeah, it's not helping. It's not helping.
No, that's right. It's not genuinely helping.
Yeah.
America is expected to spend almost $6.1 billion, $6.1 billion on Christmas trees, just on Christmas trees.
Are these alive trees?
It doesn't say, just Christmas trees overall.
Okay.
In 2021, 21% of Americans plan to spend less money on holiday gifts. Wow, it's still going to be near $1 trillion. Americans are going to spend an average of $886 on Christmas. I believe this one. Women spend 20 hours on average shopping for Christmas presents. I would say, in my experience, a lot more than that.
Yeah, I would say more too. Because a lot of the women, and I'm not bagging on men because there's plenty of men that do the shopping, but for the most part, it's up to the women to make sure that all the family members, like the friends, the family, the neighbor, the cat, the dog, everybody is taken care of Christmas morning.
Yeah.
It's usually on them how the household works. And I think we just naturally just kind of take on the task because for whatever reason, we're like, we'll do it. Because I guess we think we're better shoppers. I don't know.
Well,
obviously not, because we got billions of dollars in unwanted presents. So we're not as fantastic as we think we are.
Fantastic shoppers, money management. I don't know.
At this point, looking at it, neither.
Well, both, like you said, there's people on both sides, but it is generally, I feel, women who do the Christmas shopping. And it's all subjective to me, as into, like, what does a good shopper look like? Well, because to me, a good shopper looks totally different to what it looks like to someone else,
Right.
Because one of my pet peeves, one of the things that pissed me off always, was going to the shops, like for Christmas shopping, and being there for so long and have not bought anything. Just been to about 55 shops, haven't bought a damn thing. So achieving nothing, and then go back to the first shop and buy something from there. So to me, like, I'm a very clear cut kind of, let's get in, let's get it, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I don't take very long to make decisions when it comes to that, because I want to get out of there.
Well, yeah. And also for me, if there's more than 2 stops, I'm out. Like if you said, let's go Christmas shopping and we have to go to like 10 different stores, I may feign an illness. So I don't have to go.
You just start limping. Oh, I've done 7 hammies. I can't keep going.
Yep. Yeah. I don't like it. It's something that I've always hated, actually, even as a young child. I've hated going to 1,000 different stores. That's why, like, I'm all for online shopping. I haven't been to the mall in years. Absolute years. Like it, and I'm very okay with that. I'm very okay with not knowing what stores are in my local mall.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, and you run into all kinds of issues at the mall as well. Like, you know, there's like the old person cut in, like the old person who's walking slowly with their trolley who, bless their cotton socks, they're not aware of where they are, and they're like just they cut you off, and then like the other person, all the Karens trying to push in line, and yeah, it's not a fun experience for me anyway.
It is.
Now,
No,
for other people, if you love going shopping and you love all that stuff, that's good. It's so good.
Well,
but
I'll give you my list. I'll pay you to go for me.
ooh, Uber shop. That would be good, wouldn't it? Uber Christmas shopping.
There you
Ooh,
go.
jeez.
That's something.
You heard that? Patented. 2021, Descent into the Wormhole.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the women spending 20 hours on average. I feel it's more as well.
Yeah.
And the last one it's got here is 56% of US consumers want to receive a gift card as a present in 2021. Now,
That makes sense.
that does make sense. But in terms of Christmas and wanting to receive a gift card or wanting to receive a gift at all, I feel like it almost... It's just so far from what the supposed idea of Christmas is and what we're told the original idea of Christmas was.
Right.
So look, I've done a lot of talking on the stats there. Where did you want to start with the origins of Christmas?
Well, we could start with Saint Nicholas himself. I think we start from the
agree.
tippy top and
I
work our
agree.
way down.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, well, you go right ahead.
Okay, well, Saint Nick was a real dude.
He was a dude.
He was a dude. He was a real guy, and he came from a very wealthy family, and he didn't care for money. He left it. He's like, I don't need this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So he also had a very generous spirit. So the legend goes that there was a family, there was a gentleman in the village who had 3 daughters, and he couldn't afford the dowry to marry them off. And unfortunately, in those times, if you couldn't afford for the dowry for your daughter to be married off, they would be sold, they would be put into slavery. So St. Nicholas wasn't having any of that. So he went and he gave money. He snuck in and he gave money so the father could pay the dowry on his oldest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And he went back and did it again when the next daughter came of age. And finally, I don't remember, Stevie, did he get caught? Did he get caught doing this?
He did. He got caught because the first time they said he dropped it down the chimney. He dropped the money down the chimney because it was almost seen as rude to be giving people money, because it was like a whole pride thing. Like, oh, I don't want to be accepting gifts. So he did it anonymously down the chimney, threw some gold down there, and it landed in some stockings that were drying near the fireplace.
Yeah. So, he got caught.
Yes.
And it was the rumor mill started of how Saint Nicholas was dropping, gold bullion down people's chimneys. Now, we don't know how many other people he did this for, but the legend says it was this one gentleman and he got busted. Yeah. So how it turned into this thing is how we went from there to here. I don't understand.
Well, that's right. Like, it was a real dude, and just to give people some kind of context, it was 4th century, what is now Turkey, right?
Yeah, it was Mira. Yeah.
Mira, yes. So, and not the one from Aquaman. So, he was a real dude. He was very religious, and he was doing this stuff for good deeds. And it started to spread that this was happening, and it became eventually less of a faux pas, a social faux pas, to give somebody money if they needed it. So people started helping each other as well, like neighbors and stuff started helping each other. But then it moved to other countries as well. Moved to Europe, and in Germany and Belgium and the Netherlands and places like that, in Switzerland, they were calling him Santa Claus. Now, that sounds very familiar, doesn't it? But
yes,
they would leave their shoes out so similar to the stockings or whatever, they would leave their shoes out, hoping that old Santa Claus or Saint Nick would come and put some money, put some gold, put some gifts, whatever, into their shoes. And so, it started off with a real dude in the 4th century, as in this viewpoint of it did. And it actually, to me, like, that's where I say that origin of Christmas sounds good. Like, it sounds good to me. Like, this is a dude. And look, apparently he gave away all of his money. Like, he was rich. He had big inheritance, all that stuff. And he gave it all away to charity. So, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I just want to remind people, this was well before anyone was born in and around the so-called Christmas season.
Yes.
Like, Jesus was not born yet. This was all happening beforehand. And it just grew. And as it traveled through the countries, they all had their own version.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the version of Santa Claus is terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching a video the other day of these monstrous goat things, and I didn't like it. As a grown woman, I didn't like it. And it is for children. Like, talk about nightmares for the rest of your life. Like, terrors. I didn't like it whatsoever. But I guess if that's what you were brought up with, because I didn't like Santa either. Let me fucking tell you. Scream my head off. Yeah.
Well, he's a kind of I got some questions for Santa, like, why do you sit there and, have so many kids file through and sit on your lap? Like,
yeah.
And what I really have questions for, and that what I said just then will make more sense to people in a few minutes, because Santa Claus, now we've talked about Saint Nick, okay, like Saint Nicholas, who was a real person who did real charity, and then it went on to other things and other ideas and stories in Europe. And what I find really interesting, though, is that so Saint Nicholas, we should say as well, was Catholic. He was a Catholic, saint. But there was a guy in the 1600s called Martin Luther. Not the I Have a Dream Martin Luther, not that good guy. Martin Luther, who was a Protestant, and he wanted to do away with Catholic saints. And so he banned Christmas. He said Christmas was evil, Christmas was bad, and people were not allowed to celebrate it. Right up until 1647.
Yeah.
But that ties into as well what you were saying about the demon, the Santa Claus demon, who was really scary. Now, there was another name. What was it? Nicker or Nickel. Nickel or Nicker. And, there's a term out there too called the Knickerbocker. So Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, Nicker was actually a demon. And people were scared of this person or this demon. It wasn't hey, come give me a present.
No, exactly. So funny enough that you would say that his name, like the Nick name is. So as we know, the devil is called Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, and in popular rustic speech, also Old Nick.
Oh.
Nick has a recurring theme here because in the Concise Dictionary of English Etymology, Nick equals the devil.
Wow.
And Old Nick was a well-known name for Satan in Old England. And for the Greeks, and the Greek word Nicholas is translated to conqueror of the people.
Whoa.
So really, everywhere you go, back in time and around and about, Nick equals not good dude.
Yeah. Holy shit. I didn't realize that. I did not know that. That is, well, it's believable. But when I was going to say that's insane, but it's only insane if you believe the stories we're told today, about what Christmas is about. Right. But it makes perfect sense in reality. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So there was just a lot of things going on around this time because there's no proof that Jesus was born December 25th.
Right.
We have absolutely no proof. And there's good reason to think that he was actually born in the summer.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of other people that were born on December 25th, and they all revolve around these ancient, how do I want to say it?
Deities, like,
yeah, the deities. They're ancient deities that would promote, let's just say, drinking and fun times with multiple peoples and things of that nature. Like, it was just
like drunken debauchery, right? Like,
yeah, drunken debauchery was high on the list.
Yeah.
So there was, and like the evergreen tree, what's like, how did we get there? Because there is a tie to the tree. There's actually a few ties to the tree.
Yeah.
How did we get there? But because it was all tied around the winter solstice as at the end of the day. So the winter solstice, December 21st to December 6th. So, which is funny because of Orthodox Christmas is in the first little bit of January 5th or 6th or something. I forget. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I should probably know that. So I don't celebrate it.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really dark time, and it was really, really cold for those of us on this side of the planet. It was very, very cold.
Yeah.
So we needed heat, and a lot of people were dying. Like, there was a lot of death, and there was a lot of starvation, and there was a lot of it wasn't a good time.
Yeah.
So the people noticed that the evergreen trees were the only thing that survived the winter.
Yes.
So they looked at it as a sign of life. So what did they do? They killed it.
They cut them down. Yeah.
They got it down. They killed it, hauled it in, and they would burn it. Like, they would bring in this huge ass log and burn it for the heat. Obviously, they needed heat, they needed warmth. That blah, 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 makes sense.
Yeah.
But they saw this beautiful tree as a sign of life, and the first thought was, I need to kill it.
Exactly.
I'm going to honor it by killing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best thing I can do for you right now is kill you. That's the best way I can honor you. Like, that's how it works.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
But apparently too, so like the darkness and everything in the winter solstice, they bring the tree in and burn it for the warmth and the light and the honoring of the tree. But they would also, on some occasions, hang things on it or put a light on the top of it. I don't know, maybe like a star or something. Put a light on the top of it, because at that time in the changing from winter to summer, the winter solstice there was like the life-bringing time, because the light, the sun brings the life to the area. So, that was another thing of them cutting the tree down, killing it, and then putting the light on top to be like, okay, now's our time. It's, the good times are coming with the sun.
It's very it's nonsensical, really, because you see something and you're like, ooh, it's like the fountain of youth and draining the pool.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just leave it? I don't understand, but you know what?
Go swimming. Go climb the tree.
Yeah, go sit under it. I don't know.
Go hug it.
Do something except anything other than kill it.
Yeah, do something else with the tree.
Did.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yep. And look, there's so many different, there's a bunch of branches of ideas and customs and things that came from different places and went to different places and everything like that. But before I forget this, I wanted to touch back on Martin Luther for a second. The Protestant Christian pastor who banned Christmas from being celebrated. And I want to just add this point in. When he did that, at the time, it was still the St. Nicholas or Sinterklaas or Kris Kringle, who was the Santa Claus at that time. But he didn't want any association with those Catholic saints, so St. Nicholas. So not only did he ban Christmas, but also what he did was he changed it. When Christmas came back in 1647, what he did was he said, no, it wasn't Santa Claus doing that. It wasn't Kris Kringle. It wasn't St. Nicholas. Who it was baby Jesus. He literally stopped at that point in history, in time, and said, no more St. Nicholas. From here on, it was baby Jesus who gave the presents.
Just like that.
Hence, joining presents and gifts and giving and to little baby Jesus.
My goodness. Well, the thing is that, as we just said, that baby Jesus was not born on December 25th, and there's no proof of it. Like,
yes,
you can ask any person in the church, and they can't find you a place where it actually says that this was when, because the way it was explained to us was that the donkeys were outside, like they were attending to their flock, and they would never have attended to their flock in that area of the world at that time of year, because it would have been too cold. You would have had your flock inside. And something to do with the color of the dates. Like the dates were
yes, that's right. They weren't no, the dates
they were brown,
which
the
means
dates were brown,
that they were ripe. Yes, that's right, they were ripe, and so it was summertime, because the dates are ripe in summertime.
But there was one dude that was born on December 25th that we know.
Yes, there was. And
who was this dude?
Well, his name was Mithra. And he was a pagan god of the sun. And there's much, 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 much to talk about with Mithra, because he was a part of that. Now, when we talked about the drunken debauchery before, the ancient Romans, they loved their drunkenness. They loved their debauchery. And so Mithra was worshipped by the Romans as well. And even earlier. So, you go back to the Babylonian times, and Mithra is on the cards. And then they had a thing in ancient Rome. So I think it was around 200 BC, something like that. The Sol Invictus, which was to worship, or basically, party because of the sun. And so it was always that drunken debauchery thing, but I feel like it's been shifted around, and they moved it from December 25th.
They did. They moved it. They had to move it.
Yeah.
Because they said it doesn't line up. It's not in line with what we want the people to believe. So they moved it to the next week.
Which is?
New Year's.
And what happens on New Year's?
Oh, debauchery.
And drunkenness, I feel.
Yeah. It's just a hot mess for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it moved. No, not to say, people still, they do Christmas get-togethers, and you still have your drinks and your this and your that, but nothing compared to the brouhaha and the hoopla that is New Year's Eve, and the expectation of debauchery on New Year's Eve. Like, you don't have that expectation any other day. It's on New Year's Eve and maybe your birthday.
With the birthday suit, of course. Well,
of course.
But you're right, the expectation. So it's a whole season of expectations, because you got the Christmas expectations. And if you're in the US and North America and stuff, you got Thanksgiving and all that too. Yep. But you get to Christmas, and then you get to New Year's, and you're right. You're so right. It's like, well, I have to let loose.
Yeah.
I have to let loose. Like, even if you really don't. But you get to that, and it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's running down the street partying. I've got to run down the street partying. Oh, we're streaking now? Okay, let's streak.
I was just going to say, oh, we're taking our clothes off.
That's what everybody's doing? Okay. Let's go.
I'm doing it too. I'm in.
Whoa.
And you know what? I don't do, it's been years since I've been out for New Year's. Like, I'm usually in bed by 10. And I am embarrassed to tell people that. I'm embarrassed. Like, when people are like, what'd you do? I'm like, in bed by 10. But more and more people are starting to do it. And I guess as we get older, I know we're all getting older. So they're like, screw it. It's just another day. It's just another night. I really don't care. But it's that expectation of, what did you do? And it's like, nothing. They're like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude. Like, I watched a movie and I was in bed by 10.
Well, that's
Me
right.
and the cat having a good time.
When did it become a sad thing that you're not going out, getting wasted, throwing your clothes around everywhere on New Year's? Like, that's so true, because You say to somebody, they're like, "Oh, what'd you do New Year's? What'd you do?" And you're like, "Oh, I just didn't do much. Just sat around and went to sleep." And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And you're like, "What are you
Yeah.
sorry for? That I chose to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I took my clothes off at home instead. Big deal."
And I'm up at 5 o'clock with no hangover. Thank you very much.
So good.
Oh, we're so good.
So good.
So good. I like that part. I like waking up with no hangover.
Oh, I
enjoy
love that
very
part.
much.
I
Yeah.
love that part. Why does a hangover these days last about 5 days?
Because you're old, my friend.
I am. I think I'm getting a walking cane for Christmas this year, funnily enough.
How'd you know? We all chipped in and bought you one.
Oh, I've got a sixth sense for these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting older. I'm getting wiser as well.
Says you. Okay.
And it's so much more humble and modest as well. See how humble I am? Check this out.
I see it. I see it.
Okay. So, but great point about the expectations. I agree.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, since we're talking about, or we're starting to touch on Babylonians and the history of all of that, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to go through some dot points on this. If that's
sure.
all right.
Yeah.
And this was something that you sent me, but I found it so interesting. So interesting. And this was about the biblical stories. And people out there, don't crucify me, so to speak, or crucify us for this. But these are other people's theories that to me make sense. All right. So, okay. So we're starting back way, way back when. And this is with Noah. Noah's Ark, Noah. All right. So the son of Noah, Ham, married Semiramis. This is the woman on the Brazilian currency, importantly, the Statue of Liberty, Lady Justice, and the woman in the picture for Columbia Pictures. You know, when the movie starts and she's holding the thingo.
I found that was so fascinating.
Right, me too. So
like,
fascinating.
How is she popping up all over this place? Like, what's her symbolism to this whole thing?
Yep, and I feel there's she has her own little place on the wall when we get to that.
Yes, she does.
But okay, so they had a son, Nimrod. He killed his father Ham and married his mother. No judgment,
fair enough.
But that was the times. Anyway, married his mother. He was the founder of Babylon and Nineveh. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Nineveh and other pagan cities. He tried to build the Tower of Babel and God stopped him. His uncle Shem killed him because he was opposing God too much. Semiramis, so who's the mother and wife, spread a lie and said that he had not died, but had in fact gone to heaven since he called himself the sun god. All right, we can see where this is going.
Yes. Now so the Tower of Babylon, that was supposed to reach the heavens, right? Like that's the purpose of it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
And it makes sense since he called himself a sun god. He was a god.
Yes. Yeah.
But so interesting. So, and it's that sun god part is very crucial. Semiramis became pregnant and claimed it to have been a gift from the gods, the reincarnation of Nimrod, when in fact it was as the result of a betrayal since her husband and son was already dead. Okay, so there's some resemblance here to, Immaculate Conception, isn't there?
Yes.
And, yes, the Canadian in the back, please.
Thank you. So I was thinking about this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why this came up for me in my head when I was doing what I was doing. So I was thinking, like, how did these people get away? Where did they think they were going to get away with saying that it was Immaculate Conception? Like, oops, I'm pregnant, but no one touched me. But then I had the thought back then there were, and I'm assuming still to this day, don't judge me, anybody, that the reptilians reproduce on their own.
Oh.
Could she have been part reptilian?
Oh, wow. You just blew my scone. Blew the noodle right off.
Right?
That's such a good point. Yes. And, to give other people listening or watching this a little miniature bit of backstory there. There's a lot of text written about the ancient Babylonians and a mixture of alien races and humans around that time in Samaria and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
oh, I love that. We're going to talk about that more later, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Blew the noodle right off.
Okay.
But great point. Great point. All right.
I don't know. I just work here.
And I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Please
you.
don't quit. We'll make sure you're getting a decent package.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So Semiramis became pregnant. Okay. So, and Tammuz was born on December 25th. December 25th, people. The sun god of the Egyptians, Babylonians, Greeks, Persians, Romans, and today from the secret societies. So, look at all of those civilizations, all those cultures who worship the sun god on the 25th of December. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yep. Okay, so it says he probably likely died during a hunting trip by a wild animal or something, in reality, right?
Right.
And his body was found slumped over a rotten tree trunk. His mother said that a pine tree sprout from the rotten trunk, and every year on the 25th of December, it was common for people to take a pine tree home and decorate it with gold and silver as a symbol of the rebirth of Tammuz. So, first of all, a fake immaculate conception, a fake birth and death, but on the 25th of December. And then people would go and grab a Christmas tree and put it in their house to celebrate the rebirth, which was a made up thing from her, again, saying that this tree sprouted from his body. So they would celebrate it. Nothing to do with Jesus.
No.
Anyway, it goes on. When the Persians dominated this region, they took all of their idols back to Persia, including the gods Tammuz, Nimrod, Semiramis, and simply changed their names. The Greeks soon gained power, and they did the same thing by changing their names. They became Zeus, Aphrodite, and Eros. And now it gets really interesting. But during the times of Jesus Christ, Rome was in power, and they also changed their names, and they became known as Venus and Cupid, because the father figure was dropped. So they dropped off the father figure in the three in Rome during the 4th century. Now, we mentioned 4th century about St. Nicholas too before, so there's lots of things going on here. They became known as, during the 4th century after Christ, to please the Christians who were in large numbers in Rome at this point, Emperor Constantine, and Constantine was the emperor who wanted to transition things from being paganistic to Christian.
He had a lot to do with a lot of things.
And writing of certain Bibles and things. Anyway, he was a very, very big proponent for going from the old gods to Christianity. So Emperor Constantine decided to honor Christianity, making it the official religion of Rome. To please them even more, he took the strongest names within Christianity and gave the idols Christian names. Semiramis and Tammuz became known as Baby Jesus and the Virgin Mary. As a result, Christmas was still being celebrated as the birth of baby Jesus, when in fact, this boy was Tammuz, a pagan god.
There it is.
So,
yeah, when you go back and you try and kind of because their names have been changed to fit whatever narrative that that person wanted their people to believe. So the narrative was changed and their origins changed. So you have a lot of the same figures, and you'll see that a lot in the ancient carvings and stuff. Like you'll see the same person over and over again, but the names will be very much different, but they're all the same because they just got changed for the appropriate narrative. So all this is just I'm going to quote unquote appropriate narrative that they wanted the masses to follow.
Yep. 100%. Yep. And as we get into, I totally agree with you. And as we get into the later years, let's just say the more modern times, the more recent years. So we've had the Babylonians, we've had the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, the pagan switch to Christianity adopting all of these things somewhat. But then you had the Puritans, Martin Luther, and Christianity denouncing Christmas entirely and saying, no, this is an old Roman tradition of drunken debauchery on the 25th.
We're not having it.
And this isn't us. Because, these were the Puritans who were like, no touching, no holding hands, no nothing, all that stuff. And so when we get into the more modern era, though, and we see it go to where it is today, there's a big jump from all of that to what we see today and the consumerism and the commercialism of it. So I have a theory on this, and I feel like people are going to probably roast me for this one, but
is this where we get canceled?
Possibly, but this is where I'm going with it, because this is where my mind goes. So we mentioned Martin Luther before, and that was in the 1600s. Around 1647 was when they allowed Christmas to be celebrated again, I feel. Now, not too long after that, in the 1700s, Adam Weishaupt started the Illuminati, the secret order, the secret society, who, in one's humble opinion, is either the soul part or in league with those who run the actual world in secret.
Right.
And what one of their biggest motivations has been money. And what did we mention at the beginning of this? There's $15 billion just in unwanted gifts. So there's so much money to be made off Christmas.
Yeah.
And then we start to look at, okay, where did the children's books and where did the stories and the fluffy, lighthearted stories of Santa Claus come from?
Where did Santa and his hat and Rudolph and all of these things and the North Pole, where did all these come from? Because it came from, it seemingly popped out of nowhere, like nowhere in like anywhere does it say that Saint Nicholas and Santa Claus, the dude we know today, flew through the sky. There are reports of who was it that had the serpent riding the sleigh? Was that Nimrod?
No, that was Nickel. That was Nicka or Nickel, the demon version from Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. There are different versions. There's one that is being pulled by turkeys. There's one that's there's a version where he is pulled by serpents with wings. Like they look like dragons, but they have serpent heads. And then there was one where it's pulled by donkeys.
Right.
So there's many different versions of this if you look back, but nothing of Rudolph and Santa and his elves.
Nope. Or reindeer. I didn't see any on reindeer.
No.
But and
I always wondered, and sorry, I just want to stop you there, because I always wondered, how did, like, when you go to the mall and you see Santa there and all the kiddies are lined up to see him, why is there a baby Jesus manger there besides Santa? I never understood that, because the two don't mix.
Right.
They've never mixed in my mind.
Well, they don't. And that's the whole thing of it, is when Martin Luther wanted to forget about Catholic saints, and he said, it's not Saint Nicholas who's been giving these gifts and being generous, it's baby Jesus.
Yeah.
He literally said that. That's a dude. Like, that's not something miracle. That's not some like immaculate conception. It's not some thing that just came from the sky. This is a man, a human being who just said, today it's Saint Nicholas, tomorrow baby Jesus. That's who it is. Yeah. And so, then another story began. So I feel like it went maybe like this, like that. And you had people who were like, what the hell? What are you talking about, baby Jesus? It's Saint Nicholas. And then the other people were like, oh, baby Jesus is amazing. So it went off in two things like that. But in order to make the most amount of money, put them both back together. And there you go. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting, because a lot of that, like, that's just the beginning of a story. And then it goes on and on and on and on, and the stories just get more embellished and more developed over time. And I want to stress this, by fictional authors. We're not talking about, the supposed disciples of Jesus here. We're talking about authors, fictional authors who write stories. And that's where they went with it. They took it in the direction it went.
It's like us taking a Stephen King book and basing our an entire month around it.
Yep. Exactly.
As it's real. That's exactly what it's like.
Yep.
Because they realized that people were starting to buy. Now, when at the very top of this episode, you made it very clear that Saint Nicholas gave to those in need.
Yes.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are not in need, we are in want.
Ooh, yep.
So right there, they took it and they're like, well, the parents are going out buying presents for the children because the children got on board with this. Presents, of course the children got on board.
Yeah.
So they had to they had to quickly figure out how to turn this into profit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in 1863, Thomas Mast was a cartoonist for Harper's Weekly. Yeah. And he made his own version of Santa. And that version of Santa is the one we have today.
Yep. The jolly fat bearded man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With his hat and his coat and everything. It was a cartoonist. It wasn't anything other than, it's like us believing that Clifford the Big Red Dog was real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's about as plausible as the government actually caring about us in any way.
Yep. I love it. I love that tie-in. I love it.
But you're right. Like, and that's so interesting because it's got nothing to do with giving but the reason why they don't just say, it's obvious why companies don't just come out and say at Christmas time, well, Christmas is just about you spending a whole lot of money so we can increase our profits.
Right.
Get on board.
Exactly.
That's the spirit. So when they tie it into something and make people feel, well, I guess essentially feel guilty for not doing something, like,
right.
You didn't help people at Christmas. You didn't give presents at Christmas. You didn't buy someone something at Christmas.
Yeah.
Kind of a heathen are you? What kind of are you the devil? Like, they've done such a good job of selling that and marketing it that, well, that's how everyone feels, and everyone just goes along every year with the same thing. Yeah,
it's upsetting, really, when you think about it, because obviously, when you're a kid, most kids believe in Santa. If that's your belief system, most kids believe in Santa. And when they realize that Santa's not real, like when they go down and they sneak and they see their mom and their dad putting the presents underneath the tree, and then they realize, wait a minute.
Where's your red suit?
Yeah, I see a problem here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but I still, like, I'm on my last legs when it comes to Christmas, but my father I still get presents from Santa. At 44 years old, I still get presents from Santa. As do the cats, as does my mom. Like, he still does that. I don't know. He just gets he gets a kick out of it, right? Like, it's funny.
Well, it's kind of cute in a sense. Like, it's kind of adorable that he's doing that. But but I'm with you. Like, and for me, like, the only reason I get involved and into Christmas is because of the kids. Like, if the kids weren't into it, for me personally, it's just another day, really. Yeah. Another day. And as we said at the top as well, I'd prefer to try and, work on myself and be giving and helpful to others every day of the year, not just at that time of drunken debauchery. I mean, giving and being so generous.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's,
and the whole reason we do these podcasts is because we just have so many questions all the time. Yeah. And I love it because we don't put an expectation on the answer we get either. Like, a lot of this stuff we didn't know before we looked this up. And it's so interesting to find out. But, at the end of the day, we find out it was fictional stories, really. Like, it was fictional stories that made the Santa Claus we have today and the Christmas we have today. Like, Rudolph was written when? When was he made
1939.
Up? There you go.
1939. He was promotional to get people into the store.
Exactly.
That's why Rudolph was invented. And this whole story around it really upsets me.
So do you think...
And I told you this, I feel about Rudolph, because it's not telling a very good story on how to treat other people. Like, this is for children and this is what they're teaching. So let's think of the story of Rudolph. He had this nose, and all the other reindeer wouldn't let him play because he was different, because he had this quote unquote he was abnormal. So they shunned him until they found out he had a purpose and he could help them. Then all the reindeer loved him.
Yep.
Including Santa. Santa let this happen too.
Oh,
Shame on you.
Santa was a big old prick. Like, he just kept Rudolph kicked to the curb, and then he's like, where's that shiny mofo of a reindeer? Oh, there he is. It's a bit cloudy tonight. Pooh.
Yeah.
we've got a use for him. So you're right. Like, you're so spot on. Like,
I hate it.
it's a horrible story, really. Like, you're only accepted and included when you're useful. And if you're not, then we don't want to know you.
Yeah. Or if you're abnormal.
Or if you're not,
if there's something wrong with you, if you don't look like the rest of us, if you don't look like the rest of us, we don't want to play with you. You can't play our reindeer games.
Yeah.
And that's just the story they're telling people.
And if you don't think like us as well.
Right. Exactly. Oh, that's a huge one too.
But the marketing ploy,
it's really upsetting. Oh yeah, this was just a marketing ploy.
But do you think, as the marketing ploy, I just thought is that, do you think it's the marketing part of the marketing ploy? Because Rudolph has a big shiny nose that leads everybody, that leads Santa to presents. Is he also, in a sense, leading people to the shops? Like, follow the light and go to the shops and buy the things and the stuff and the things so that Christmas can continue. Because without Rudolph in the story, Santa couldn't go deliver the presents.
Yeah, there's no presents without Rudolph.
So he's literally leading everybody to presents and being a part of the whole shopping and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just turned, because all of the shopping, like it was the Industrial Revolution that started this whole, we need to get people to buy, we need people to buy the things they don't need.
Yep.
Clearly, billions of dollars in presents people don't want or need. It was just because they were guilted into thinking that quite possibly they had to buy Aunt so-and-so something that she didn't even, she looked at it and she's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly.
She couldn't even hide her disappointment in what she got.
Right. I've got to tell you, I've already told you this story, but I think I should share it for the podcast, right? Like, for the people, for the listeners. Yeah. So, you know, Kris Kringle's, where you do a like Secret Santa type thing. Yeah. So I had one at work about 10 years ago. I had one at work, and it was a $20 thing, you know. It was a secret. Nobody knew who gave the gifts and stuff. Anyway, there was this guy I was friends with in the office, and oh, geez, it was funny. Everyone's opening their gifts, and, you know, someone got a bottle of wine, and someone got a big box of chocolates or whatever it was, the usual stuff. Anyway, this guy opens his gift, and his reaction was literally, "What? This got to be a fucking joke, doesn't it? This is a fucking joke. Who was this? Who gave me this?" This, you're kidding, right? And I said to him, I go, "What is it, mate? Like, what did you get?" And he goes, $20 of horse manure has been donated to a farm in Indonesia. It's like,
it's the Human Foundation. It's the Human Fund.
The Human Fund. And the director is Art Vandelay. Well,
gather around the Festivus pole.
Exactly. But there was the classic reaction, like somebody literally donated him. He's like, I go, "Well, sorry, mate, that's a shit present." Like, literally. But this is the thing, the whole thing of so many unwanted gifts and the pressure and the forcing and the whatever. And how many people out there have given a gift to somebody? I feel this happens a lot too. People give gifts because they like something. So it's like, I'm going to give you this because I think it's great.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's good for you. I love it, so I'm going to give it to you.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
and then
it means
they get
nothing.
upset. And then they get upset that the person didn't like the gift.
Yeah. It's like, what am I going to do with this?
We got a lot of regifting. We got, you know, the regift.
Yep. Exactly. The regift, that's a big one. Like, oh, be gentle with the wrapping. I'm going to give that to somebody else.
Yeah. And I got to put the name on the person who gave it to me, so it can't go back into that friend circle or that family circle. I got to make sure it's 3 people removed so they don't find out. Clearly, I have mastered this.
Well, clearly. And why wouldn't one? Because you get so many unwanted gifts. And that's just it. Like, so what did it say here? 1 in 10 people return their gift to the store. So there's a lot of unwanted gifts. So what I would say is, so many people, right? Like, rather than giving a gift, and to me, there's nothing wrong with giving gifts. I want to say that and be clear about that. I feel there's nothing wrong with giving gifts.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself asking yourself this question, oh, geez, I have to get something for so and so. What the hell could I get him? I have no idea. I feel like there's a problem there because
Yeah.
you start in the sentence with "I have to,"
Right.
and when
Never good.
when you're giving a gift to somebody you really want to give a gift to,
I
the
want
sentence
to.
should start with "I really want to give this person something."
Bravo, Stevie. Bravo.
So
Yeah.
if
Love
it doesn't start with that, there's a problem,
Yeah.
and that's where
And
you.
honestly, sorry, but if you don't know what to get someone, do you know them well enough to be buying them gifts? Because
Right.
I have like I have definitely cut down on my gifts. Like I have told people to F right off with gifts. I'll do for the kids, but I'm done. I am done. And so I have one friend that I still do gifts with because I
Because
can't
you want
help
to.
it.
Well,
I can't help it. I can't help it. And so
yeah.
it's just like that's just what I do with her because I just love it. But I always see something throughout the year and I was like, oh, she would love it.
Mm-hmm.
She would love that. So I buy it and leave it for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'll, tell her husband and say, hey, like FYI, I got her this. So just in case we double up, because we've done that before, we've doubled up
Yeah.
on things. But it's because I know her so well and I know what she would like. Or if I'm unsure, I will ask her husband, say, hey, what do you think? I don't
Yeah.
want her to ever have anything she doesn't want nor
Yes.
need.
Right. But you don't. But there doesn't have to be a justification for that either. Like you don't even have to say like we do it because we've always done it or we do it because of this reason.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look at I made excuses.
If you
I
feel
made
like
excuses for myself.
yeah, if you feel like you want to give somebody a gift, have at it. Perfect. Awesome.
I love giving.
Yeah.
I love giving.
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, there is a gift in giving. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't mean the the generic voucher that you get for Uncle Bob. Like, not that kind of giving. When you give someone something that's got thought in it, that's got effort in it, that's got real meaning behind it, that feels good for you as well because you're like. Yeah. Well, and that's the reason for giving the gift in the first place. Yeah. It's because you want to give something to somebody that makes them happy, improves their lives, it gives them a smile, whatever it is, like.
I get so excited.
Yeah. And
I get so excited. But the thing is, like, I love giving gifts. I don't like being forced into it.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And that, because to me, it defeats the whole purpose. It defeats the entire purpose of giving a gift in the first place. Yep. And the thing about Christmas as well is it's so obligatory and forced that it's like, well, I'm only getting a gift because it's Christmas. Like from most people, Johnny Blogs down the street gives you a present. It's like, well, I'm getting it because it's Christmas. And but when you get a gift on, I don't know, let's just pick a date. You get a gift on April 6th. Sure. Okay, there's a gift. Then you go, oh, wow, like, this is amazing. That's so nice. How lovely. I got a gift.
Yeah.
And it's
Someone
something.
thought of me.
Right. And it's something I appreciate and enjoy. So.
Yeah. 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 It's just turned into this madness.
I don't have a fundamental issue with the old idea of Christmas if it is that St. Nicholas version in the very beginning where it's just about giving to people in need. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. I think that's great. Yeah. But it's all the other stuff that's been tacked on that, to me, and the molding of religion with Santa Claus and presents and gift giving and no, I'm sorry.
And church and state.
And church and state as well, yeah.
They say they want to keep it separate, but the church is going out celebrating Christmas, and Christmas is all about buying. That's what they tell us. Christmas means presents. Christmas doesn't mean you go out and be nice to everybody, which you are absolutely right. We should be doing every single day. Mm-hmm. And for me, honestly, and I think for a lot of people, there's an underlying sadness when it comes to Christmas. Yes. Like the actual day of the Christmas day, there is an underlying sadness, and I just want the day over with. And I can't pinpoint it. I can't pinpoint the sadness. I can't pinpoint. And before anyone says it's not because I don't go to church, it's just something. It's just it's always been there. And I don't know, but I think a lot of people feel it. A lot of people feel it, and I think a lot of people are just going through the motions at this point.
Yeah,
because we
absolutely.
feel that we have to. And let me tell you, when I can fully cut it out, I'm cutting it out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
me
done.
too. I'll be the same. And
Yeah.
on that though, like how you have that negative sort of feeling
Yeah.
on Christmas,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it's on a more energetic level to do with perhaps the way that Christmas has gone, and all of that stuff. And what it really, if you took it back to its ancient Egyptian or Babylonian roots of celebrating the shift from winter to summer, or winter to, the end of winter. I mean, I feel like that is something that, back in our previous lives in Egypt, we would have been happy about. We would have been energetically feeling much better after. Like the worst day, the pinnacle of feeling shitty would have been Christmas Day, because it's the last day of that winter season. And then after that, energy changes and feeling better again. So I'm just wondering, maybe you're channeling some of that, and that's where it comes from.
Maybe past life is saying, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have fun. Remember when we used to have fun? So I was like, yeah, I remember having fun. This isn't it. This isn't it at all.
And having lots of fingers pointing at me, telling me to go to church. That ain't fun.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it just, the thing is, I love hearing how other people celebrate, because we talk to people from all over the world, and I just love hearing how they celebrate. And I love when other people get excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love it when other people are excited, because I just feed off, I don't know, I guess I just feed off the energy, and I get excited for them. But as for myself, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I don't want anything to do with it. But if you're excited, then I will be excited. So just make sure you're excited.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I mean, it's the energetic side of it too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, because if someone's energy is all up and positive and hey, like it's Christmas, then
You can help it.
you can get into it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, their energy builds you up as well and gets you drawn in. But there is a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who are not like that, and it's like, I've got to go and get so and so a present, and I've got to do this, and and then I got to get the tree, and then I got to, like, it's got a whole negative thing to it.
Yeah. And it's no holiday. Let's be honest. Like, you get like a certain amount of time off work for Christmas.
Yeah.
So you go to work so you can buy the Christmas presents, so you can rush around, but it's no holiday. Like, it is no break, because you don't get a day. And I think that's what bothered me the most about it when it was a thing, is that you don't get a day, because you got to go here, you got to go there, you got to go see Aunt Sally and Uncle Ted, and call your uncle from Pluto. Like, you're doing all these things, and it's a whole lot of buildup for nothing.
Right.
Like, things you're thinking, I could have done this in March. Like, honestly, I could have done all this in March. I could have split them up, and we could, gone and see Aunt Sally in January and Uncle Ted in November, and everything would have been fine. But it's that pressure that, you have to come see me at Christmas. Yeah. It's the guilt trip. It's the this, it's the that. It's the fucking bullshit that I don't like.
Exactly. And I'm with you. I said to you before, like, for me, up until this year, anxiety was always going up towards Christmas for all of that stuff. Like, not just the, you got to do this, got to go see these people, got to go hang out with these people you don't even really like that much. And you've got to, do all of these things that are on the list to do, plus the presents, plus all of the... But the other thing is as well, that you get this pressure of, well, you have to, everything has to be a surprise, right? And that's fine, because like I said, the kids' happiness to me is so important, and I love their little smiles. So I'll pretty much do whatever it takes to make them have a smile on Christmas. But overall, taking a step back from that, and the personal, view I have on that with my kids, it's just pressure. It's pressure. So much so that there was Christmases where Christmas Day I'd be passed out on the floor because I was so tired from putting together the thing in the middle of the night that needed to be put together for the surprise in the morning or whatever. So there was only one year where I turned around and said, this thing that I'm putting together, it's going to be from me, because I'm not going to all this effort, and Santa Claus is getting the credit for it. So this one's from me. Plus, I can put it together a little earlier and go to bed. I don't have to.
Yeah, it's so funny. You're like, Santa, I don't think so. Not this time, mofo.
Yeah. It's like, don't bring your sleigh around here. we don't like your cart around here.
That's right. Well, I think we're about that time, but I want to close it off because I asked you this question
Ooh,
and
yes.
you didn't know the story.
Mm-hmm.
The story between Christmas and magic mushrooms.
Ooh.
This story I can get behind. I can get behind all the stories. I can get behind the pagan, the Babylonian, the Saint Nicholas, all of it. But this one tickles my fancy. So apparently, the Amarita mascaria, I don't know if I said that right, is a mushroom, and it's got hallucinogenic properties, and it's the mushroom that is most normally seen. It's the red cap with the white
yeah.
white dots on it. Kind of like what's his little name? The mushroom guy in Super Mario?
Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't know. Luigi? Mario?
Oh, that's a dude. That's a dude.
Oh, the actual mushrooms. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so apparently what happened was back in, when was it? Okay, so in the Arctic, in like forever ago, the shamans would pick the mushrooms and deliver them to the people at this winter solstice, because the people loved them so much. They loved getting high off them. So he would pick them and he would put them in a sack, and he would truck along with them. But then, because there was so much snow, he couldn't get in the front door, so he would drop them down the chimney.
Yes.
And not only that, he would dry them out, because if you dry them out, they're less poison, because they're poisonous. So they can be poisonous. So to dry them out, to take away the potency of it, he would hang them on the tree to dry them out. And they were normally found underneath an evergreen. So you had the green tree with the red and white mushrooms underneath it, and that's where they were found. So you got the tree and the presents. And they think that people were so high on these mushrooms that they honestly thought that they saw the reindeer flying, because reindeer would eat them too.
Yes, you did it. That's bloody amazing. Santa Claus is a big old drug dealer.
I love it.
He's a Colombian drug lord. I love it.
I love that version, and I'm sticking to it. I don't care.
That's my Christmas. That's my new Christmas. I love it. That's so good. You got the tree, you got the mushrooms, you got the colors too, the red, white, and green. You got the reindeer flying around because they're
going so high.
Yeah. And of course, the shaman who turns up with his sack full of drugs looks like Santa Claus, doesn't he? Because they're all high on mushrooms. They're like, oh, hey, check out that fat guy.
Yeah, and those shamans had a long white beard.
There you go.
Because they were old gentlemen, so they would have the beards, and probably be a little portly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they got so excited. They got so excited when he came, like Christmas, because it was like, hey, he's here. The drug dealer's here. Check out the sack on this guy. Would you be
excited if that was your Christmas morning? Would you be excited?
Of course I would. Of course.
I love it.
Healthy breakfast, right? Mushrooms.
Yes. Well, you just put it on your cereal. It's fine. Or in your pancakes, whatever you do for Christmas morning.
Yeah, of course. A little sprinkle of mushrooms, and you get to see Santa all over again.
I love it. I love that version.
Oh, thank you. That's just made my day. That's so good. Yeah. Santa, after all of that we talked through, all the research and everything that we did, Santa's a freaking drug dealer, and that's it, people. He's a drug dealer.
That's us out. Well, that is us out for the year. We're done. We're done for the year.
We are done. Yeah. Well, I hope that everybody is generous and giving all year round. But if you celebrate Christmas and you do, truly give people something that is meaningful for them and help people at Christmas, that's great. But otherwise, enjoy every day of the year. And thanks for joining us. It's been a great episode. Thank you as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Just have a great holiday no matter what you celebrate.
Exactly.
Just go out and have fun and take the pressure off yourself. It's not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.